Welcome to another episode of Jay Leno's Garage. If you've been to this website before, you know I'm a huge Bugatti enthusiast. We've done a number of Bugattis. You can go back on the website and check through and see some of the Grand Prix cars we've done. The two Type 37As, my Type 35B we haven't done yet, but we're going to talk about an interesting car. This is the Type 51. This is the car that came after the legendary Type 35. But the Type 35 Bugatti was an out-and-out Grand Prix race car. In fact, this Type 43, I know it's getting confusing with all these numbers. This is the road-going version of a Type 35 because it had the Type 35 engine in it. The Grand Prix cars look like this. Type 35 looks just like this one here, except this is the Type 37A. It's a 4-cylinder supercharged. Stay with me here, I know it's confusing. The Type 35 had this exact same body style, but with an 8-cylinder engine, with this engine in it actually. Single overhead cam, 3-valve supercharger. Now, the Type 51, when the Type 35 got outclassed by the Alfa Romeos and all the Mercedes and auto unions, they come out with this car here, the Type 51. Now, the Type 51 was a lot faster than the Type 35 because it has, as you can see, twin overhead camshafts, whereas the Type 35 put out 140 horsepower, something like that. These could go up to 180, even more on alcohol. Twin cam plugs are in the center. Basically a different motor than the Type 35, but still 8-cylinder inline. Now this engine here has a bit of American heritage. There was a racer by the name of George Stewart who raced under the name Leon Duray. It sounded a lot more romantic. He used to race the Harry Miller cars. Now, Miller and Duesenberg are quite famous for running at Indianapolis, and Harry Miller made carburetors, and there's some wonderful books on Harry Miller. You can Google him, and he, like Ettore Bugatti, was not a trained engineer. He was an intuitive engineer. He was a guy who could look at something and make a part, make a camshaft, design an engine, make a carburetor. He won Indianapolis a number of times. Well, he had these race cars, the Type 91s, Type 91s, they were 91 cubic inch rather, front wheel drive and rear wheel drive, and they had the twin cam head on it. Well, Bugatti and his son Gene saw that twin cam head and said, oh my God, that's pretty amazing, we have to copy that. They essentially copied it for the Bugatti. That's basically what they did. And Leon Duray, the race car driver, he traded his Millers for 3 Bugattis, which came to America. One is at the Slump Museum now. This is pretty well documented. And Bugatti took the Miller race cars, took them apart, dissected them, and essentially designed the head for his car based on the Miller design. You know, it's funny, Bugatti goes back to before World War I, or about the time of World War I, with Duesenberg. Duesenberg built the Bugatti aero engine. It's all very incestuous, but all these people kind of worked in the same area. A lot of people say Duesenberg got his idea to build straight-eight engines from Bugatti, but again, that's all open to conjecture. As you can see, it's a beautifully finished car. It's a little bit bigger than the Type 35, but not a whole lot. As I said, I think the radiator's bigger. You got the twin filler caps. This pressurizes your gas tank. That's a little air pump. You have here, this is oil for your supercharger. You fill that up, you open the tap, and the oil drips down into your supercharger. These are wonderful cars to drive. You know, there aren't many cars that are as exciting to drive as a Bugatti. And you have to wear like Bugatti shoes. If you wear normal shoes, I don't know, these French guys must have been very tiny. I mean, I barely fit in this thing, but believe me, it's well worth the effort. Got a proper wooden steering wheel, and all Bugattis had a clock. You've got your tachometer, how much pressure in your supercharger, your clock, and of course your temperature gauge. You have your Kai gas. What that does is, before you start the car, you hand pump some fuel directly into the carburetor, into the intake. 4-speed transmission. This is an oil pump during a race. If you started to use a lot of oil, you'd pump this and it would pump more oil into your crankcase. This pumps up your fuel pressure, about 20 or 30 pumps real hard on that, brings it right up. What else we got here? This is your advance and retard and your ignition. This is not stock. That is just an on-off safety switch. And it has an auxiliary fan because this is California. And you get stuck in traffic. You see the whole body is held together by safety wire. This one has copper wire on it. If you take a look, if someone was to come along and cut this wire, it's like one of those old movies, where you pull the thread and the whole thing disappears. Well, you could just pop this wire off, hand turn those screws, and lift the body right off. It has mechanical brakes on all 4 wheels. Bugattis are interesting because when you take the wheel off, the brake drum comes off with it, unlike most cars. This is your handbrake, emergency brake, handbrake as well. This is your gear selector right here. That's obviously your transmission. I think it's about time to go for a ride. Let's go through the starting procedure. You want to check and make sure you have enough supercharger oil in here. Make sure this is always full. This is good for a couple of 100 miles, but it's always good to check it. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, there's plenty in there, as you can see. Now we need a rag, because I made a mess. What I tend to run in there is a look, a rag magically appears. I tend to run 2-stroke oil. That works fine. Okay, we open that tap there. There's a whole procedure to this. You either like it or you don't. I get a kick out of it. It's kind of fun. Modern cars, you just kind of get in and go. These things, okay. Next thing we want to do, come around here, is turn on our fuel. Fuel is right here. Okay, fuel is on. It should be enough. I want to open that one. Let's see. Try some Kai gas here. Okay, there we go. Let's see if that does anything. You always want to let a Bugatti warm up. They're very cold-blooded. Let's take it for a ride. Nothing like a pre-warm Bugatti. That extra camshaft makes a real difference. You can feel it in the seat of your pants. Still one of the best looking cars of all time. That fabulous horseshoe grill. The louvers. Although these put up a tremendous fight and were quite an improvement over the 35B in terms of power, ultimately they could not match the Alfa Romeos and the German Auto Union car. Just to hear it howl. few cars assault your senses the way a Bugatti does. That's the best sounding engine. Such a bite this engine has. The English describe it as ripping calico, which sounds very dramatic, but it's right on the money. Big Centilla mag, fantastic car to drive. Wow, what a car this is. Now, truth be told, this is not my car. My Type 35B, Jim Strandberg, High Mountain Classics, he's our Bugatti guy, does amazing work. This is a loaner. That's what I love about this. No, he has my Bugatti, he loaned me this one. I think he wants to sell it to me. I don't know, what do you think? Pretty impressive. Watch this space. I'll let you know what happens. See you next week.